Parents across the country have also been battling public schools and libraries over explicit books. Parents Defending Education President Nicole Neely testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee this week about it.
As a society, we don't put Playboy in kindergartens. This isn't considered a book ban, but common sense.
Joining us now to discuss, Parents Defending Education's Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi. Good morning to you. So Nicole also talked about schools intentionally excluding parents in decisions about their children, especially when it comes to sexually explicit material in the classroom. Tell us more about that hearing and the big takeaways here.
So I think that one of the most important things about the hearing was that Nicole and others were able to dispel myths about what this debate over books is about and is not about. Unfortunately, it seems like most mainstream media outlets have just decided to frame it so dishonestly, right? So they want people to think that that this is about not wanting works of literature in the library, or this is not about not wanting anything related to LGBT people in the library. That is absolutely not true. What we are talking about here is sexually explicit, sexually graphic, vulgar, profane, obscene materials in school libraries and classrooms, including at the elementary and middle level. And so I think part of it is just people really need to look at the books to understand what it is that has most parents so frustrated. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana read directly from two of the books. I think people found it sort of shocking to hear what was
pretty shocking. I think a lot of people are realizing this too around the country. So then why do you think these books were placed in public schools in the first place?
I hate to have to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, because I'm not that at all, but it does seem, and we've heard people say, particularly when they don't know that they're being recorded, that the intention here is to get these very ideological materials and hypersexual materials into schools under the guise of inclusion. So that's why you constantly hear them talking about inclusion and also making sure that everybody can see themselves in the books. The problem is that these books are very sexually graphic in nature. If a stranger were to walk up to a child and flip through this book or read this book to a child, they would be committing a crime. But for some reason, in the name of inclusion, they found a way to get the books in, and librarians are often unwittingly ordering them because they appear on so many award lists. So they order books off an award list that they assume is appropriate, realizing that they've brought something close to pornography into their library.
And that's how they're being curated. I think it's important to note as well that many of these parents take issue with the phrase book ban. No one can ban a book, period, because we have the internet. You can find this book in other places, in bookstores. So they say those parents who do want their children to read these books, perhaps in the name of inclusion or for whatever reason, they can easily find them for their children themselves. I think
the word ban has been thrown around, and people need to understand that that it's not being used to mean what we all think it means, right? So ban would mean that you don't have access. The people that are calling these book bans are saying that any restriction at all equals a ban. So if a book is moved from an elementary shelf to a middle school shelf in the same library, they're calling that a ban. If a school is moved from the middle school to the high school, they're calling that a ban. Nobody is banning books. All of the books we are talking about, and again, we are only talking about school libraries. So if a parent wants to go to the city library or the town library and take this book out for their child, go ahead, great. Same thing, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, local bookstores. There is no reason that families can't access these texts. What we are saying is that they are absolutely inappropriate in a school setting, and also that when you decide to budget for these books, it means that there's a whole bunch of other texts that you're not purchasing that would be far more appropriate and enriching for children.
One of the biggest issues are states where educators or governors, like the one in Illinois, who said he was the state's librarian and only librarians should be deciding what's in a public school library. So this goes right back to what rights do parents have, Erika, when it comes to this issue?
So there's good news and bad news, right? His comment was ridiculous. He made a total fool of himself in the hearing. It actually appeared that he was unaware of what's in these texts. But of course, parents can object, and so can non-parents, because these are public schools funded with public dollars, right? So parents and citizens have every right to be heard when it comes to what they think is appropriate in the schools. The bad news is that it is true, if you live in a community and the community feels that these texts are appropriate, and the school board, after reviewing them, decides that they are appropriate, that is the decision. So you're not always going to get what you want, for sure, but at the very least, everybody has a right to raise their objections, to be heard on this topic, and to at least put forward their best effort. And what we see is that communities are making different decisions based on sort of what the opinions, values, what they think. And that's kind of how our system works. So if everybody's unhappy with the decision in their community, got to run for office, people.
Parents Defending Education's Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi. Great seeing you on this Friday. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jan. You too.
Thank you.